Let's now shift focus to Africa. The stakes are high as Nigeria heads to the ballot to elect its next president and vice president on the 25th of February. According to a research consultancy in Nigeria, a runoff election could be a possibility after voters cast their ballot for their preferred candidate. The 2022 Electoral Act states that where no candidate meets the requirements of the majority of votes cast, Independent National Electoral Commission must conduct elections within 21 days to break the stalemate. Ahead of the 2023 general elections, INEC says that it has decided to print 93.5 million extra ballot papers for possible presidential runoff. This is in addition to the 93.5 million ballot papers needed for the 25th February presidential elections.
But it's the right time to decide what we really want for Nigeria, because enough is enough. It's not about the political parties, but with the youth and the system. We need to make the system to be comfortable for we and the nation behind.
This election is not sure for anybody, because now we have three parties. Before it used to be two parties, but now it's three parties, and you just have three parties, and there's this particular person that is, people call it a social media person. They say it's a social media candidate.
We need the mercy of God from the start, because now everything has it has reached a stage where we can no longer, even masses are the one that is really suffering from this. This does not affect the politicians in any way, because they will always find their way.
In terms of the election, the winner is show off. We are looking at the main person, which is Ahmed Tinubu. But in terms of the economy, what's going on in the country right now is not friendly, based on what the central bank, CBN, did to the masses. We don't enjoy it at this moment, which we think we need to talk to our people just to calm down for the election to take place, so the right person can come in.
Now, Nigeria's constitution has a unique requirement for winning. Successful candidates at the national and state level must win with a broad level of support to govern effectively. The constitution addresses this specifically in Section 134 for the presidency. Section 134 deals with the requirement of getting the most votes, while the second requirement involves receiving 1/4 of the vote from 2/3 of all constituent units. In case candidates are unable to meet the requirement, then runoff elections are held. There are provisions for two runoff elections. The first requires the winner to receive 1/4 of the votes in at least 2/3 of the states in the federation. If no candidate can still deliver, the next election is won by whoever has the most votes. Among the presidential candidates to watch out for are three top contenders: Bola Ahmed Tinubu from the ruling All Progressive Congress, opposition politicians Atiku Abubakar from the People's Democratic Party, and the Labour Party's Peter Obi. It remains to be seen who is able to woo the masses in one of the largest economies of the African continent.
We have high level of youth unemployment. We will employ our youth. We will make them productive.
For more on this, we are now being joined by Festus Keyamo, who is the Minister of State, Labour and Employment of Nigeria and spokesperson of the APC's presidential campaign. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking with us. Let me first begin by asking you about the key issue that Nigeria is grappling with, the currency swap. Nigerian government would contend that the currency swap as a pro-people measure. Then why is there so much resentment on the policy?
What they disagree with largely is that those who were meant to implement the policies were not very much ready to implement it in a manner that will be hitch-free. In other words, They were not ready with enough notes at the time, enough of the new notes, I mean, at the time the deadline came upon us. And so people could not get an equivalent of their old notes that they took to the bank. So if I take 10,000 to the bank of the old notes, I expect to get 10,000 of the new notes back. So what's the real contention really? It's about the implementation of the objective of government, not that people are not happy with the objective itself. The objectives are very noble objectives.
Sir, do you think that the government and President Buhari have lost ground over this swap decision? As a party member, what are the dangers of the perceived rancor rocking the party just few days to the elections?
Nothing is rocking the party. That language is the language that the opposition wants to throw about. Because the opposition parties, especially the main opposition, have been torn to pieces all along. So they have always been praying and wishing that the same thing befalls us. But what is going on really is not a crisis within the party. No. The governors who are basically at the forefront of this are asserting their own constitutional rights. In other words, if you come to Nigeria, we run a federation, a strict federation in Nigeria, where the federal government has its own, powers as dictated by the constitution and their territory to govern. The states also have their own powers and territory to govern. Apart from this issue, the state governors of the APC have taken the president to court on various issues in the past. It's just that this issue has raised a lot of political insinuations and issues. That is why it is making the headlines. But the governors have taken the president to court, even the same party, on various issues in the past, just to interpret the constitution and know what the constitution says. That is all. So it is not a crisis within the party. The party is firmly together, and to know, for you to answer your question, whether the president has lost grounds or not, well, that is neither here nor there, because the president is not on the ballot. So there's no issue whether he has lost ground. Nobody will have a thermometer or some barometer to test that, either tomorrow or next tomorrow, or even when he leaves office. He has done his 2 terms. He's not on the ballot. We're not going to test his popularity again. But the president is extremely, he's a steady party man. He's supporting the candidate. He brought out a statement yesterday supporting the candidate. He's standing by the candidate. The party, governors are standing by the candidate. The party itself, in terms of the structure of the party, is standing by the candidate. Every part and component of the party, they are firmly behind the candidate. Let me tell you, for those who are telling you negative things, the party is not in crisis. The party is not in division. We are firmly together.
Sir, for the first time, a second runoff in the presidential election is being talked about, with Labour Party gaining momentum. What are the permutations you are seeing?
Those who are praying for a runoff are those who know they will lose. Go and write it down. Write it down. Call me in exactly 8 days from now. Yes, the election in 5 days' time, results may not fully come out until 2 or 3 days later. Call me back 8 days from now. Let's have this interview. There will be no runoff. Write it down. It is those who will lose. There will be a straight victory. Straight victory, one ballot victory. Because our constitution, the way it is designed, does not really promote the idea of a runoff. Yes, of course, the provision of runoff is there in the constitution, but the way it is designed, it does not promote a runoff. All you need is to score 25% of the votes, 1/4 of the votes in 24 states. That's 2/3 of the states. In 2019, we scored that same 25% in 33 states. We're not going to lose how many states? 9 states that we cannot score 25% in the last 3 years. It's not possible. After you score 25% in 2/3 of the states, with 24 states, all you require is to have majority of the votes. So if I beat my opponents by even 2 votes, I am president of Nigeria. That's all.
All right, we'll wait for the elections to happen and then see what the outcomes are. But one final question to you, sir. Are there concerns over security issues at the upcoming elections, and do you trust the election umpire to conduct free and fair elections?
Every poll in Africa brings security concerns. Every single poll. So it is not, if I say yes, it's not a special concern. Because with elections in Africa, security issues are always an issue. But then it is whether, the question should be whether the security concerns are so much as to fear whether they will mar the polls or mar the results of the polls. I don't think so. The security agencies have been very well, briefed. They are in position already as I speak. They are getting to positions already all over the country. The process linked to our elections are always very noisy, let me tell you that. They are always noisy. They are full of blood and thunder. But once the results are announced, in Nigeria in particular, we all fall in line and move on with our lives. And that's what Nigerians they want to do right now. I can assure you, there will be no problem.
All right, Festus Keyamo, the Minister of State, Labour and Employment of Nigeria, thank you very much for speaking with WION.